let's keep it moving. Now what I want to talk about is a little bit of performance stuff. I want to talk about blocking code and how dangerous this is in Express. So now that you all are pretty much good at writing APIs in Express at this point, I want to show you how to be great at writing APIs in Express and not have to make rookie mistakes. So there's something called blocking code and something called non-blocking code. And this actually has nothing to do with Express, but everything to do with JavaScript. Let's talk about that. So I'm going to write my little test file that I always do. I'm just going to call this blocking.js. JS. It's just me scribbling on some code. You don't have to follow here. So let's talk about some blocking code. What is blocking? Blocking code is like this. This is blocking code. All right. This code is blocking, as in JavaScript won't go to this next line until this first line has completed. This is not an issue because creating a variable is quick. It's easy. JavaScript's not going to struggle with creating a variable. But if your blocking code was, I don't know, CPU intensive, like some heavy math calculation like Fibonacci or something like that, if JavaScript had to wait on that to go to the next line, maybe it's also not a problem because nothing else is waiting on, nothing else is in line to be processed. So maybe it's also not a big deal. But now take that concept and apply it to a server. Okay, you have some route that's running a Fibonacci. That's going to take, I don't know, 30 seconds plus on your MacBook. In the meantime, you have 100 other requests coming in. How is JavaScript going to process those requests when it's too busy running your Fibonacci? Okay, now it's a problem. So blocking code can become a problem in the context of having routes where you want to be able to handle as many requests per second as possible, but now you can't because that one request is taking too long. That's called blocking. So you don't want to write blocking code. So how do you write non-blocking code? There's really only two ways in JavaScript, or at least in Node. One is to make it async, right? The way asynchronous code works is that it's scheduled to be done later, right? It's not going to happen on the current stack. It happens on a different stack. So if you could think about, well, what if someone made a request to an API and that ran Fibonacci, but they ran an asynchronous version of Fibonacci that is happening over here and is scheduled to complete later? Well, then JavaScript can continue to, ingest more requests and move forward with things. So you basically just want to make sure you're not doing CPU intensive things synchronously, right? And we might be guilty of some of that. Let me see if we did anything synchronous. If we did, it would be the bcrypt stuff. Okay, no, this is async. If we did the sync version of this could be blocking. I mean, this also isn't going to take long, but it's still blocking. Like, I don't know, maybe bcrypt decides once it takes 10 seconds today. Within that 10 seconds, you had 20,000 requests come in. They're probably not going to get processed. Or if so, they'll be processed very slow. Like, they won't just get blocked, but they'll have to wait until this is done. Eventually, you run out of memory where you can't hold on to all those to be processed, and some requests will get dropped if you're doing something crazy. So you want to always use this synchronous version of things. And I would say a common one that I see people do all the time is file system stuff. They always do when they read the file system, they do the file system sync. I have an example of it here. They'll do something like this, right? And actually, let's just run it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I import file system, I have to use require on mine. So fs equals require fs. So if I import the file system, I'm just going to read the package.json, which will be like process dot. I got to do a whole thing. I forgot. I haven't done this in so long. It'll be like path.join process, or it'll be like dir name, something like that, and then like package.json. Okay, and then I can get the result. I think I haven't done that in so long. Let's find out. What do I call that? Blocking. Okay, so there we go. We got, this is a buffer version of the file. Well, that's the file. It's just in buffer form. Or you can convert that to a string if you want to, like UTF-8. There you go. So there's the package.json. Okay, that's blocking because check this out. This result didn't log, or actually, just to make it more clear, I'll put another log here. Hi. Okay, if I put hi here, oh, actually, this one logged first. I guess that's not blocking. I don't know why that didn't block. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. No, it did. I just had the result come after. I'm stupid. No, it definitely did block. This is the result. It's logging after hi. So let me kind of switch that up there. But yeah, that's blocking because this didn't actually log until this was already processed. And we know it was already processed because the result printed out and then hi logged, which means hi, this log for hi wasn't able to be processed until all this was done. And this was just a simple package JSON. I don't know, imagine open up a CSV, a gigabyte CSV, and then like try to take in more processes. Like it wouldn't work. Okay, so what you would want to do is you would make this async. So I can say, give me the promises version, and I want this to be, async. So I would say, read async like this. And then I can go in here like that. And then I can say read, right? So now it's not blocking. So if I say that, it's a promise. We didn't wait for it to come back. It just gave me back a promise that it will come back. But in the meantime, it went on to hi, right? And then whenever I want, I can resolve that promise. Oops. Oh, I didn't return anything. Criminal. There we go. Oh. What? I don't know why that didn't let me do the promise thing. Maybe it's not a promise thing. Let's see. Okay, there we go. It just didn't like the way I did the non-chaining syntax. So by using the promise version of it, we can basically not have to wait until that's done, and we can just proceed on. So basically using the async stuff is the way you want to go. You don't want to be using synchronous stuff inside of route handlers for CPU intensive things. That doesn't mean like every line that you write has to be inside of a promise. It's just like CPU intensive things. Like, if you think of an algorithm that is linear or like quadratic in nature, or I guess pretty much anything that's probably gonna be slower than linear, you probably and then like potentially has it potentially has like ability to have like a high input. Yeah, you probably just want to be careful with that. This is not JavaScript's cup of tea. It's not JavaScript isn't a multi-threaded, or Node isn't a multi-threaded environment. It's a single-threaded environment. It only uses one of the threads on your CPU by default. You can tap into the other ones, but by default, no. So that's one way. The other way is just to use a child process. So I'm not sure if you ever heard of a child process, but a child process is basically, it's kind of like a web worker in the browser. It's actually literally the same thing. So you can spin up a different process adjacent to this process in which your server is running in, and you can tell that process to go do this work, and that won't block the current process. But you can only do so many child processes. It's not like you can do infinite amount of those. You can throw money at your server and get more cores, but eventually you can't do all those, right? So those are more for like CPU intensive things that you have control over, and not something a user has control over. Like if a user can hit your API over and over and over and it kicks off a child process, you're probably gonna hit a limit really quick. But if it's just like, oh, this is a cron job that I run twice a day and I need to do it in the background, yeah, that makes sense, because at most it's gonna happen twice a day. So yeah, you could do that. But those are really the two ways you wanna get past blocking code. So don't block code, use use promises. Next time one of your colleagues submits a pull request, tell them stop blocking the code.